My name is Irini Katsirea. I'm a reader in international media law at the University of Sheffield, and I will talk to you about unreliable science, scientific dissent, and freedom of expression. Scientific inquiry is committed to the finding of truth, and it uses many mechanisms in order to ensure that it complies with ethical, professional and legal standards. And an important mechanism by which scientific integrity is upheld are retractions. Retractions aim to alert readers to publications which contain such seriously flawed or erroneous content or data that their findings and conclusions cannot be relied upon. However, unreliable science unfortunately often stays in circulation after it has been retracted. We will now consider the lifeline of a retraction. In September 2021, medRxiv preprint claimed that COVID-19 vaccines could cause acute heart disease in 1 out of every 1,000 vaccinations. However, this claim came from a calculation error that caused a 25-fold overestimation of the incidence rate. In fact, the reality was that people that had been vaccinated were less at risk of heart disease. The authors withdrew the article and issued a public apology. However, the podcast host Joe Rogan later repeated this erroneous figure uncritically to his vast audience of over 20 million listeners. So, what are the drivers, or some of the drivers, of scientific misinformation? One of these drivers are preprints, which are repositories of scientific content that has not yet been peer-reviewed. And such preprint repositories often include warnings that this content has not been peer-reviewed. However, this is not always taken into account by readers, and content that is not reliable becomes circulated. Another way that drives scientific misinformation are podcasts, blogs, and other social media content that often attract attention-seeking content that is at a far removed from scientific evidence. Finally, there are certain scientists that join scientific counterpublics, and they become important vectors in the spread of scientific misinformation. It is important to draw a distinction between scientific dissent and unreliable science. As the Royal Society remarked in a recent report, science operates on the edge of error. So it evolves, and previous scientific certainty becomes revised as new evidence emerges. It is therefore very important not to stifle legitimate criticism of majority scientific views. However, this does not mean that science communicators should have the liberty to peddle unsubstantiated claims. Claudia Haupt, in her research, has drawn a distinction between internal and external outliers. Internal outliers are scientists who come to views that don't agree with the scientific consensus, however, use the scientific method in order to arrive at these conclusions, while external outliers don't even comply with the agreed scientific method and are motivated by external factors. We will now look at a case that was decided by the European Court of Human Rights, the Bilau case, in which this distinction between internal and external outliers became important. So Dr. Bilau was an Austrian GP. He had a homeopathic website in which he posted an article where he claimed that vaccinations were ineffective and harmful. And as a result, the Austrian Medical Council imposed a disciplinary sanction on Dr. Bilau. He challenged the sanction on the ground that it violated his freedom of expression. And the questions that were raised before the European Court of Human Rights were whether these statements on Dr. Bilau's website were connected with the exercise of his profession, and whether they contravened his professional obligations and posed a risk of harm to public health. The European Court of Human Rights held by a majority of 6 votes to 1 that there had been no violation of Article 10 of the European Convention on Human Rights, which is the provision that protects freedom of expression. And the reason why they reached this verdict is because the information that was posted by Dr. Bilau online was one-sided, it was not in line with medical evidence, it was widely accessible, and it was potentially harmful. Also, Dr. Bilau did not inform his patients, the users of his website, that his views reflected a minority opinion that was not recognized. As to the question whether the website was connected to his medical practice, the court said yes, and that this website aimed to advertise Dr. Bilau's services to his patients. There was a dissenting opinion on this point where Judge Vehabovic argued that this was not a commercial website and that the harm was limited because only patients who were already interested in homeopathy would consume this content. So the key takeaways from the Bilau case and from our discussion of retractions is that science is an ever-evolving process, and scientists are entitled to participate in public debates and to even express views that depart from the scientific consensus, that are critical or minority views. However, these views need to be grounded in scientific evidence and to follow shared scientific methodologies. Also, if scientists espouse views that are minority views, they need to inform their audience that their views do not agree with the scientific consensus. And finally, when medical professionals engaged in public communication, as they often do because of all the possibilities offered by the internet, this can be deemed to be linked to their professional practice, and it can give rise to professional liability.